Okay, are we ready? Okay. So again, I invite you to settle into your body and follow your breath as it flows easily in and out of your lungs, nourishing your rich blood and energizing your entire body. And feel the energies of the divine flowing down through the top of your head, swirling through your body and down through your feet into the earth, sinking to the bright center and then rising up again to fill your body with the energies of the earth. And I invite in those beings of our light, those of our divine kin, those who are contracted with us to be members of our guardian family. We have gathered together in circle within the sacred ground of divine sovereignty and the secure boundaries of the red rock and extraction vortex. And with the power of our word, we take back ownership and guardianship of this space, inner and outer, the space of all members within our communities and beyond to all earth. And as we sit together in this sacred space on the day of summer solstice, let's feel ourselves together in circle. Perhaps you imagine us gathered in a grassy meadow surrounded by ancient trees as the moon lights our way. Perhaps you see us on the shore of a vast ocean at sunset. Perhaps we are on a mountaintop at dawn, or perhaps in a still cavern around a gentle fire. And as we sit together in spirit, I invite you to listen to this poem, A Summer's Day, by Mary Oliver, on this first day of summer. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who is eating sugar out of my hand. Who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? And as you take in this poem, I chose this not because of the popular last lines about our precious life, but because of the particularity of the grasshopper. She offers us the opportunity to bless and be blessed by particularness, not simply some generality of grasshopper. So I offer you today the opportunity to appreciate the particulars. And when you're ready, return to your breath and gently return back to the room. And let's do a little check-in and greeting. And I'll start. I am Emma. I'm in Williamstown, Massachusetts on an obscenely hot summer day. And I offer the circle vision. And I will call on Kelly.
All right, took a moment there. Kelly here in Portland, Oregon. My apartment's reading 90 degrees and my dog's having a panting attack. So it's a warm summer. So and it's just the beginning. So I will now be lulled to sleep by my dog's panting. I want to bring in just the memory of water. The intelligence of water, the memory of water seems to be where I'm floating in these days. So working with that. And I will thanks and
Thank you. It's good to see everybody again. Angelique, I'm so sorry I missed your leadership last week. I was sad to miss it. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Unlike Kelly, my house is very cold right now because the air conditioning is way too low. So I have layers on. Oh, I would love to bring in rest. And I'll call on Arlie.
Hi, I'm Arlie. I'm in Eastbourne, New Zealand. The wheel of the year has turned. The days are getting longer. First day of winter was yesterday. We are just ending a 4-day storm. The wind is still coming off Antarctica. It is cold here, and it's that wet, damp, bone-chilling sort of cold that you can get in winter. My grandson is sick and he is here with me today. I would like to bring calm and centering to the circle, and I will call on Sue.
Thank you. So happy to see so many faces this week. I'm Sue. I'm in Issaquah, Washington. The temperature is inching up to 90. So far, it's cool enough. I would like to bring in wholeness. And I will call on Angelique.
Thank you, Sue. Hi, everyone from the Netherlands. Good to see all your beautiful faces again. And we have had quite a few storms over the past days, really, really hard storms and thunder and lightning. And that was after 2 weeks of incredibly hot temperatures. And now the rain is very welcome and the plants are really smiling in my balcony. The violets are starting again to grow. It's wonderful. They are here already for 3.5 months. And I love to bring in the circle divine understanding. And I go to Sharon. Thank you.
Sharon Raji here on Whidbey Island, and really appreciative of the various hosts that we're having in this circle that we're going to continue to have. So I love hearing the differences that you've brought so far. So thank you for that. And I'm also seeing a lot of continuing upheaval, change, moving towards something new and different. And that new and different often requires trust because you don't know what it is. So I'm bringing into the circle trust in the divine. And back to you, Emma.
Great. So we all know this, but I'll do it anyway. So this is a integration of 3 separate circles. The time travelers, which went back in time to find different seeds that were planted in humanity's experience and to uproot them and heal into the present. The guardian circles, which were put together to protect either from the outside or from the inside, to contain. And then we have the crystal broadcasters, which is to take the energies that we are generating now and to broadcast them through time and space with the assistance of the crystal and other kingdoms. I went for a lot of years without ever looking at a newspaper. I just didn't want to know. And to be honest, it was a time where I didn't really necessarily need to know. There wasn't the upheaval and uproar that we've had over the past 5 or 6 years. But this morning I came across a news article, because I do read the news now. I'm really interested in seeing energy shifts in all directions. And this morning I read an article in Runner's World about the young man, Ahmed Arbery, who was out running in a white neighborhood and was followed by 3 men in pickup trucks and eventually shot and killed. The men were not apprehended for another 3 months after that incident. And the article was beautiful because it was so particular about this young man who was launching into life. And so that spurred me. And then I'm starting to understand the particulars of politics in our time, which are, if I was not involved in these groups, it would be entirely depressing and terrifying. But one thing that is coming clear in terms of plans for the GOP is that they win Congress back in 2022, impeach Biden, and return us to a GOP-led autocracy at that point. And so these are particulars. And I know that we, we like to have the general overlook. And I think it's important that those of us who have this general overlook and can see the global or the galactic picture. And I apparently am an earth baby. And I, I'm aware of the rocks and the stones and the blades of grass and the particulars of that grasshopper. And I, of course, each time we travel to where we are guided by our team. But I invite you to consider the particulars of the reality of what is actually happening today in our world, in our communities, and to, ask them to bring something back to the circle, to continue the cleansing, to continue the healing, continue to bringing the light back as the darkness returns to its home. So that is what I would like to share, and wondered if anyone else wants to share or ask or say anything before we move into our journey.
Yeah, I just want to add something to that. I think to the circle, the whole purpose, again, in the galactic understanding, the whole purpose, plane's flying, for us being on the planet is to see the specifics, the manifested forms, and to totally enjoy and embrace those forms that cause the benefit, beauty, etc. But in that enjoying the beauty, the major reason is to see the ugly and to remember our mission is to eliminate the cause of the ugly. So if we only focus on the good and forget the ugly gets bigger. That's the nature of the law of manifestation. So, I think it's really important in the circle that periodically we bring ourselves back to remembering what it is we are about, and our team, what is it about, and if there's something that in your mind and in their connection with you, that there's a specific manifestation of some kind, then that's our job, is to say, why is it, where do I need to go to eliminate the cause, and then to energize that which is good so that it can continue to grow. So I think it's a good reminder that we do that periodically. That's really what the circle is about. So thanks, Emma.
I'd like to share, I don't know, I sometimes don't know why I get down these rabbit holes, and then something miraculous comes to my attention. I'm like, oh, that's why I'm down the rabbit hole again. So this weekend I was just in a space of not really sure what I was doing, and I spent a lot of time pacing. I was at my daughter's house. I was pacing. So I kept on seeing a fourth wheel. It's like, what is this fourth wheel? The turning of the fourth wheel. So I finally decided I have to figure out what this turning of the fourth wheel. At the same time, I'm seeing water, and I'm understanding that water has a memory. I know that water has intelligence, but water has this memory. So water being the memory, so it has a memory of all things, of all life, of all creation. So what is happening within the memory of the water? So then I decided, well, what is this fourth wheel? And I came across the book that's called We Are in a Fourth Turning. It's What is the Fourth Turning? I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's fascinating. Oh my gosh, found my rabbit hole that I was looking for. And it talks about how we are cyclical, and we run in these patterns of fours. So if you look at the wheel of the year, there's 4 wheels, but we're in the 4th wheel of the evolutionary turning of this last phase before we start in the first wheel again. And so it's a fascinating read. So it talks about the upheaval and the recreation, and where it actually goes back in time and shows you where we are and how every 80 years, there's a turn of a wheel, and where we are right now. It's just absolutely fascinating. So I want to go in specifically because here we're at this point of where things are tough. I mean, we're in that tough window. We're supposed to be in that tough window through 2028, but why can't, from 2008 to 2028, why can't we change that? Can we not change that and not make it so tough? I mean, because if you look at the pattern, it's like, man, we think it's tough, guys. If you look at that pattern, but I'm like, well, no, if water has memory, water knows when the times are good. Water has the memory when things were in cohesiveness, when things were in flow, when we were all in that space. So I'm going to work with that to erase this next whatever this is supposed to be if you look at the 4th turning. Anyway, there's my rabbit hole. I just thought I'd share. And whoever else is complete.
I don't think in this group we ever say yes to what has been. We say, wait a minute, is that what we want? And then we choose differently.
Ari?
So are you suggesting, Kelly, that perhaps we could draw on the memory of water, the powerful everywhere memory of water, the water that's within us all, in the air, in the clouds, in the seas, in the lakes, turn its attention to happy memories and use that energy to change things? Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah, so the rabbit hole continued, and I actually found that there is scientific proof. The same man that discovered the HIV virus discovered that there was another scientist who wrote a paper that was put in the Nature article, and all I could see was the silly particles of this thing. And he was discounted by his counterpart, saying, you know, he was completely ostracized. But this other man who had won I'm not a scientist, whatever highest level Nobel Peace Prize or something for discovering the HIV virus, this same scientist picked up this man's work that was talking about the memory of water. And so I went, it's like, oh my gosh, there is proof that water has a memory of when it was the first amoeba, of when the guinea pig's heart started beating. It has the memory. So can we go back and where was the atom violated to become whatever? Where were those little seeds? But why can't we go back and work within that? Because it's scientifically proven that water has that memory.
Homeopathy is based on the idea that water has memory and that water can be taught. That's the whole basis of homeopathy.
Okay, and I don't know I have no idea. All I do is know is that I can't get enough of watching videos about water. It's like, oh my God, I got to go watch another video about water. Why? And then I see it at its structure and then it takes me some. So yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what I'm assuming, that we can work with that.
Hermetic,
Homeopathy, the basic tenet of homeopathy, and why, you know, arsenic, for instance, becomes a healing agent when it's homeopathically prepared. It's because water is used to take the memory of the arsenic, and since it's not arsenic, it doesn't harm the body, it helps. But it'll take you 5 minutes to look into that idea, Kelly.
Interesting.
hermetics teaches the power that water has to be, it's programmable. So it holds those vibrations that's put into it. I mean,
I knew the intelligence, but I didn't know it held the memory.
Why that? I mean, it would make perfect sense though, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't.
So
mean,
sorry, go ahead, Sharon.
Yeah, so the memory was imprinted. Why? Because something happened to imprint water. And so there you know, so bringing that in as another aspect would add that kind of value.
All the water on the planet is all the water that's ever been on the planet. And so it's been around. Have you seen anything about the relationship between water and crystals, which also hold memory? So
I have seen some of that for sure. I don't know, it just got me at the molecular level. All of a sudden I got it. It was like, oh, okay, boy. I mean, it was like, oh, I mean, it took me however many years to really understand that I know that we're 65% water, 95% water, whatever it is.
80 or something.
Yeah. And then we also contain the same elements that make fireworks. So, you know, we are alchemical beings, right? So anyway, but it just kind of, it got me super giddy last night. I was like, oh, thank goodness for pacing.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I love sharing that. Just before we started, I watched a little movie I just received today, and it was about snow and the memory of snow. And I will send it to Sharon so that we can share it. That would be lovely. It's in the Arctic. It's in Greenland, and there the snow borders are disappearing. But it was an amazing, beautiful, what you call it, stills, beautiful pictures of the landscape. And then 4 scientists were drilling in the snow very, very deep to find a monster. You call it a monster? an example, and to measure the material and the substance. So I'd love to share that with you. So after the meeting, I will send it to Sharon, or maybe I'll do it in the in between somewhere. But I don't know how that works when I go and I come back, so I have to find it out. Thank you.
All right, so are we ready to take our journey? Again, I invite you to become comfortable and to follow your breath as it moves in and out. And to know that you are surrounded by the beings of your light who are here to walk with you, fly with you, swim with you on this journey. So take a moment and either explain to them where you would like to go or invite them to take you to the best possible place. And when you're ready, turn your camera back on and return to the circle. A blessed journey. All right, so who would like to begin sharing? And of course, as always, you can always pass. So I open the floor.
Okay, I'll go. I see Sue and Cinda almost there too, but so I was interested in the water and in the 80-year cycle. And so it seemed to me like the water of intelligence field would be another region beyond, like say, the Akashic records. So it's a way that you could go back in history through the water intelligent field. And so they said, yes, that would be true. So I said, well, what I want to do is there's all these shootings in the last little while, just lots and lots of shootings here in the United States. And so I'm going to take that because I really want to eliminate whatever's causing these manifestations. So I'm going to use that. So it was very interesting because it was like going into a different location. Like I could go through the blood, for example, going into a different location to be able to be with the water intelligence. I wanted to go to a time where the water remembered it was peaceful and harmonious and stable on the planet. So for me, it was like getting in a canoe and the canoe taking me on this travel, and then it turned sideways and beached itself. And so I said, okay, so this is the point. And they said yes. So I said, so I looked out and there was no people. It was just the wind and the grasses and the plains and the air. And it was like in the field of the water, it's not so much awareness of people as with the elements of which it's a part, which is nature. And I said, okay, so how are we going to, what is it we're watching for here? And they showed me that water is in that, it's picking up the energies and it's balanced and harmonious, but the water field feels the intrusion or the beginning intrusion of a different energy, like the outsider energy, but it feels it as a vibration. And it was like, but it has no authority. Water doesn't have authority, so it feels it as a vibration. So I said, then how would it give the information? Because it needs to give the information to someone with authority. And they said it would come through the intelligence of the water, bringing to the water keepers, those who sing the songs of water. They could bring in a warning vibrational song into those songs of water keepers. And then the water keepers who are mission forces in human bodysuits could then step up to the plate with the authority to be warned, like pre-warned of this energy coming, that then we could restore and activate the authority of the women in the village to hear the change in the water song as a warning, but they were the ones who had the authority voice to say, no, not acceptable. And so we did that. And then the water memory was able to shift to a new boundary setting and a new vibration of not acceptable, so that the memory of the water changed to begin to carry that as part of its stream instead of instead of the invader and shift that would have happened. And so that was interesting. And I also asked about the 80-year cycle. And they said, look at the planets. Uranus is an 84-year cycle. And Uranus is a shift, a change, an inspiration, quick, and it could spark. And so they said, use that understanding to participate in shifting how the cycles unfold, instead of just letting them unfold as they unfold. So that's what I got. Thanks, Kelly, for bringing that information. Thanks, Emma, also for focusing us. Aho.
Could I go?
Go ahead, Anjali.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I found myself after sharing over this movie from the ice crystals and the ice plane. I found myself there immediately in the same landscape of ice and snow again. And this incredible white beauty is surrounding me. And I'm feeling connected with the crystals and the sparkling light of the never-ending landscape. It's all around, all surrounding me. It's very, very empty. It's like, you know, there's no end. There's no beginning and there's no end. And I've never felt so small, but so complete at the same time. Then in full awe and gratitude to the wonder of the beauty of Gaia and what she shows and offers to us. And it feels that I'm surrounded by all these crystal beings as they start sharing their language, but it's not a language, it's in my head. It's a tone, yeah. It's just a tone, a sound inside of my head, and one tone, and it's clear and bright, and bringing me an offering in the form of a message which says that they are ready and waiting for us to lead us to the new path of remembering, the new path of understanding. To show us our future steps one by one. And I wrote something. I do not know what this means, but however, I believe the meaning of these words, which are no words. And I ask, how do I know where to go? And they answer, just listen and stay alert, stay connected, never lose your trusting. Do not doubt what you already know is true, and keep connecting to the divine and listen to the crystals. Just connect to remember with us. So we are together then. And I see a multicolored pathway. It's like a rainbow, but there's only this immense landscape of white, snow and ice. And the colors are so very bright, and the white is so very white, and the divine is so very omnipotent. I know I can be there anytime when answers are needed to connect to the heavens and the earth. Thank you. I go to Kelly.
Thank you. That's beautiful. So basically what I was shown is just in a molecular structure, how when there's a memory or a memory is activated, how the frequency reverberates within the cell structure. So I'm just seeing all these cell structures being lit up by a vibration. And so they see a vibration, they're feeling a vibration over here, and then over here they see another vibration over here that mirrors their vibration. So they're all kind of going on a walkabout in a way. So they're like thinking of each other and they're trying to find their friends. So in many ways, and then so what I was showed was fire. So like the symbol of fire, yeah. But within the symbol of the fire was the pine cone, and the pine cone, each as the fire, which is burning hot, which we know, I think is that the sequoia or there's a cedar that the tree has to burn at a certain temperature so that the seeds can be released. But it's specific. There's like the pine cone has to burn. That cone has to burn. So I know the pine cone represents a lot of things, that pineal gland, you see it on the dollar bill, you see it on lots of different things, you see it on the staff of the church, there's lots of things, but they're just showing me that just has to burn. So regardless of these things, the pine cone has to burn. is what basically it came down to. And then they showed me that I need to move east of the Rockies, and that's where we left. And so I was like, I just put a question mark there and put question mark, and that's it. I am complete, just happy molecules, like happy dancing molecules, water molecules. That's my name. So I'm complete. Whoever would like to share next.
I've already shared, and so how about Sue?
Thank you, Sharon. So I kind of continued on with what I've been getting for a few days, and that is that our DNA is being activated differently than it ever has before, because it's time for us to move out of the barbaric, violent mentality. And that, as I understand it, 35% DNA activation, the light is gaining, and it's upsetting the balance. And I think we're at 36, which means we're not equal. Light and dark aren't equal anymore. And that as our DNA activates, our consciousness raises, our bodies heal, we gain in understanding and wisdom. And what we've been trying to do for years, we will just do that. We will be in the frequency, and the veil is going to be thinner and thinner. So the blocks, the walls that have crippled us are being dissolved. And that Gaia is in so much more communication with us, and is in so much more connection to us than we have ever imagined. And that is, so the whole plant kingdom, animal kingdom, mineral kingdom, they're all part of Gaia. They're all part of us. And as our DNA, more and more of our DNA activates, I think I'm seeing the same ripple effect that Kelly is seeing, is that the frequency changes and it goes out and it activates more. And that activates a higher frequency and a higher frequency. And it's a ripple effect. And we, even though the news is looking like we are still trapped in a hell state of being, that is not as powerful as it appears. And I just went through this with my family. I got caught up in what I thought was a web of lies, and a whole bunch of people were going to be disappointed. And so I went for a walk and I processed it last night. And it's like, all of a sudden, the whole issue was non-existent. And it was like, so what happened? What just happened? And so how I understand it was this perspective, everything looked really negative. People were going to be very disappointed. It was a betrayal of trust. This perspective was, this has nothing to do with me, and it's not what it looks like. It is not that bad. And it's not a problem. And So it came back to me in the meditation that the only thing I need to fear is fear itself, because that is what's controlling humanity, and it's what's forcing people against each other. I cannot believe how much fear is in people afraid of people being who have been vaccinated. Absolute fear that vaccinated people are going to harm chemically unvaccinated people. And the fear is so strong. And it just brought me to the understanding that the dark side wins every time we go into that kind of fear. So it's fear that is the enemy. It's not all these other issues. It's fear. And then I remembered the saying, Jesus saying, I am in the world, I am not of it. And for the first time, I understood what he meant. I am not buying into your fucking fear. Except I don't think he used those words. Those are my words. And I don't want to play the game anymore. I don't want to play the game anymore. I want to see the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the human kingdom, and the mineral kingdom sending out all these wonderful little vibrations and frequencies that go out and make ripple effects and change other frequencies, that change other frequencies and change other frequencies. So that's what I am focusing on, is the ripple effect going out and changing and changing and changing. And that what looks like horrible things happening on the news is not my reality. I'm not buying into it. I am buying into the raising of the low energy that creates that in the humans, any outside influences, but the focusing on our DNA activating and our consciousness raising. So that's where I am. And Arlie?
Wow, these are some powerful journeys here. I went to the water and touched its vast intelligence. I felt a hint of what Sharon felt in the touch of the parasitics coming in on the edge. It was really so vast, it was just hard to comprehend, especially since I was going to ask for a favor. So I started out by thanking her for all the jobs she does, changing the world through erosion, which is really a vast, huge, important job that water does for us all. Making all the electrical charges and the chemical exchanges of living beings work, providing a home for fish and sea creatures, just all the things that water does. Then I asked her to remember to go back to the time of her creation, when she touched the intelligence of the galactic families and home. I asked, let's find some words here. Okay, I wanted her to remember the joy of home. I wanted her to remember the love, the hope, the wholeness, that's it, the wholeness of that time. The wholeness of home. And then, like you and I had talked about the other day, Sharon, I took the timeline of water and the memory of water, and I stood it on end into the present moment. And I asked water to bring that memory through all those years and make it the forefront memory and bring it up to now to be the forefront memory of water. Of all the things she's remembering, this should be the forefront thing. And I asked her to bring that memory and share it everywhere there is water, to broadcast it, to be that memory, to show the world that there is another choice, another way of being, to not be lost in the morass that we're presently buying into, that we're presently living as a reality. Yeah, to show that there's a choice. So that's where I went and that's what I did. And I'm finished. Cinda.
Well, you know, I've been working with water, seems like all my adult life. And I never really thought of it as having memory before. So how wonderful. Of course it does. And you know, whenever I've worked with water, it has responded. It has never not responded. And so I know that it is in deep connection to us. Our ability to communicate with it and ask from it is real, and pretty much instantaneous. The longest I've ever had to wait for anything I've ever needed from it is 20 minutes. So I asked, what did it need from me, since I've asked so much of it? And I'm not so sure it answered as much as I just had a knowing to infuse it with the energy of where it came, and that is the energy of grace. And so I infused water with the purity and divine love of grace. And it melded so beautifully together because water is so feminine and grace is the divine feminine. And so then I said, well, can we utilize water to share grace with the world from that element? And basically, you know, the way that we've all been taught is that there's only so much water on the planet and that's it. And we need to conserve water. But water says, if you ask me to expand, I'll expand. If you split my molecules, I'll double in size. There's no such thing as a shortage of me. So coming from the perspective of dividing the water's molecule to share its, you know, I'm really doing it with the infusion of grace, this elixir of liquid grace, being consumed not only in the planet, but within the living beings that are consuming it as well. So, yeah, and that there is, it's absolutely, completely possible. There is no such thing as a shortage. And that, you know, and I think when we were talking, it came to me that, you know, how perfect is it that we women, females in female bodysuits, are the ones to do this work, to multiply, to share, to heal the water, the ultimate feminine element. So, Emma, have you gone?
Thank you, everyone. Angelique, I am curious. Do you write in Dutch and then translate it as you read to us in your head? No. You're muted.
No, I receive the words in English and I write it down in English.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, wow, is she like translating that quickly in her head? That's amazing. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, so I start here in my living room, and the room is filled with the light of my companions in non-physical. And as they shine more and more brightly, the world falls away, and we were traveling through space-time, or space-time is traveling through us. And I see myself moving into many different times and spaces all at the same time. And then I rise above and see that there is a pattern that I am creating in all the times and spaces that's emerging from the light. It's like a spider web. from each of the me's as we land in all these different times and places. And the web is really sticky. And we are filled with the passion of righteous justice. And we discover cabals of parasitics and their puppets through all earth time and places around the globe. As we call them out, they're captured in the web. And these are the ones specifically who plan and consume our horror, and the ones who plant fear and despair in individuals and communities. And so once we have them all kind of stuck in the web, we call on the PTO Plus and we deep six them back to their home of origin. And then we call on the tag teams and cast a gentle web of healing over all the earth and throughout time. So that was my journey. So, wow, thank you everyone. This was beautiful and healing. Kelly?
Can I add a little bit more?
Huh?
If that's so, it's interesting about what Cinda said about multiplying the molecules of water. So part of my walking around this weekend was trying to understand this aspect of vertigo that has been, I've been plagued by vertigo lately, and I know that a couple of other people as well have been as well. So then I got to thinking, I was shown, what about the inner circle of water below the Earth's crust that is trying to get our attention for its possibility of use for the water shortage. So what is the possibility of us being able to tap into that aquifer that is down there that they again have signed, I think, I don't know, I'm assuming it's been scientifically proven that, I think there's anyway, whatever, that there's an aquifer underneath the crust of the earth. So why can't we tap into that? Or if there's a shift in polarities of the earth that makes people have vertigo because the water, the access is partially being controlled by how the water is moving, and then can that not create, or is the water being manipulated up here from below to create the issues that we're faced with? And is there a parasitic attachment to that as well? Okay, sorry. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, well done.
There's a series of novels by my favorite author. Her name is Sherry Tepper. And the second novel in the series is called The Waters Rising. And it's about, the waters just keep rising and rising. It's not about, climate change in terms of human caused climate change, and nobody really understands where all the water is coming from. And then in the third book, it ends up that the water is coming through a wormhole from an entirely different planet. And so I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, so anything else that people would like to share before we say goodbye for this moment?
Well, what Kelly just shared reminded me how the water was saying the water will cause songs to be sung to those who are water keepers. They can know what that message is so that action can be taken. So what, so if is vertigo a message from the water, and what's the message? Because the message is for us in the human bodysuit, especially female bodysuit, to get the message and make whatever correction addition to it. So it's almost like the body of water giving messages, just like our own body gives us messages. So I think that's an important thing just to be with.
Absolutely.
So I sing into a water bowl every morning. That's part of my morning ritual. Sometimes it's an old water song, Native American water song, and sometimes it's just light language or whatever you want to say. But I think the reason it struck me this time around is because I don't like the water. It makes me nauseous. I get seasick and I will leave a chum line from here to wherever. This weekend, as I was experiencing this vertigo, I felt like I was going to be seasick. I felt very much like I was in the element of the ocean. So I don't know, I think it's really interesting. So.
That is interesting, Kelly, because my vertigo's been really bad the past few days. In fact, I got up this morning and it was really a challenge to stay upright. I have a love-hate relationship with the water. I spent all of my childhood and youth in the water as often as possible. You know, we had a pool in the backyard. I would cut school and hitchhike to the beach. The water was everything. And after my first husband drowned in the ocean, I have not gone back into the water in terms of like, you know, I take showers, but I haven't gone like immersed myself into the wild water since then. And that's a really interesting thing to explore. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Well, this was lovely. Who is hosting next week, Sharon?
Our good Sue is doing it.
Woo, Sue. Well, it has been a beautiful time together. Sharing in this sister circle is such a delight. It's inspiring, it's expanding, it's heartwarming and thought-provoking, and those are all the things that are important to me. And I love seeing your shining faces. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, everyone. It's great to be with you.
Welcome back, Sharon.
Yeah, welcome back.
Definitely welcome
Back
back.
to Earth, really. Okay, until we see you all again, thank you so much.
Butterfly hugs.
More
Thank
for us to be with and be with and be with. So expand.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.